Fred Taylor joined us on the show. Fred, how are you today, man? Really appreciate you giving us some time.
I'm good, guys. I'm good. Hey, Leroy, what you talking about, man? You know I'm a Gator.
Come on,
Come on, bro.
I said you're not a Kane. Why are you playing this Kane music?
I know, but it's love. I guess it was reminiscence of how I used to take it to the house against the Dolphins all the time. Something like that. So shout out to T Double D and my Miami brothers.
Fred, this Dolphins team, in a lot of ways, does kind of feel a little bit like that Jaguars team. Like, you guys were an unstoppable. You had two of the best receivers in the league. They had you in the backfield. Like, seeing yesterday them get that balance attack of having the run game to complement Tua along with the passing game. Like, when you guys were rolling at your best, it must have felt unstoppable. Like, the defenses didn't know where to go against you guys back in those late 90s teams with Jacksonville.
Right. Defensive coordinator's worst nightmare. You got to pick your poison. And they have just a slew of great talented players on that offense of theirs. But it's one thing that is unaccounted for in the NFL a lot of times. What you can't teach is speed, and they got a ton of that. In the backfield they got it. Just with the addition of Wilson, also his familiarity with the coach. We know what Cheetah brings to the table. Waddle and Tua, he's showing the type of quarterback and the reason they drafted him. His accuracy that he's showing, his toughness, his grit, his willingness to try and lead his team. Man, you got to tip your hat off to him, how he's bounced back through all that adversity he's had thrown in his face. But yeah, you got to pick your poison if you're a D coordinator. If you try to double one guy or take one guy away, you expose yourself, to another big play opportunity. Let's not forget about Gesicki too, right in the middle. Like he takes advantage of, the coverages when they're out there doubling and shifting coverages to those receivers. You got a pretty good tight end that can get it down the seam. So yeah, they're tough on that side. And then obviously with the addition of Chubb on defense, they're a contender. They are certainly a contender. The toughest division, that's the toughest division in the whole entire AFC is the East. And then much like the NFC East, we haven't seen those type of divisions show that type of strength in some time.
Fred, I think the most important thing they did is they seem to have developed a dependable run game. And so now you're looking at, like, for example, yesterday, almost 200 yards rushing and almost 300 yards passing. So
crazy.
You don't know which way to go.
Right.
Right. It's like you can have an excellent pass game, but what makes that pass game so much more potent is when a team doesn't know whether should we stop the run or stop the pass. And it killed the Browns yesterday.
Right. And that goes back to that whole pick your poison,
right.
Piece a second ago. You try and put 8 in the box and stop the run. We know you're manned up. You're not going to stop them in man coverage.
Right.
Not with the ability to run the underneath routes, the shallow routes, as well as being a deep threat. Because their shallow route game is just as their shallow to mid route or mid range game is just as potent as when they try to take the deep balls, because those guys hit it in stride and they're off to the races. So yeah, the Dolphins are a contender, man. It's a tough matchup. No matter what defenses do, if you try to go cover 2 and give it a soft coverage, they're going to pound it. If you bring that extra guy in the box, they're going to throw it. And the beautiful thing and the one option that they aren't taking full advantage of because they got a really smart quarterback is not Cheetah. Excuse me, I'm having a brain fart. Tua, when he's outside of the pocket, he also has the ability to run it, and he's not running it. So that takes patient poise, and a lot of experience there where he can go running and take off and get 4 or 5 yards and reset the play and keep them in positive play calling situations. But again, they're so scripted and so dynamic, and they have so many weapons. They don't even have to use that weapon yet, but it is in their tool bag. You can guarantee that.
Fred, let me ask you this. So yesterday, sometimes coaches get excited. So yesterday, Mike McDaniel said, you guys don't realize it, but Tua is going 5 deep in his reads. And I said, that's not even possible.
That's crazy. How?
Right?
You know,
I
maybe
said
he
it
is. Maybe he's like a computer.
You
You're
don't know,
counting
Leroy.
him. Stop hating on
You
Mike
don't know,
McDaniel,
Leroy.
I mean, but if you're gonna say that, because wasn't the big question mark was your O line? So if he's able to go, through those progressions, that means you're getting some hell of a blocking up front.
Come on,
And
Fred.
I don't know because I don't
Fred,
watch every game. But man, that's sheesh. I
Fred,
mean, but you
Fred.
know what? This is the thing, Leroy. Let me say this. I don't know. I know if you look at what San Fran did under McDaniels and what the Dolphins are doing now under McDaniels, these young offensive coordinators, the young coordinators, now head coaches, they've evolved to head coaches. They see the NFL differently. They come up with these systems and they teach these guys a certain way to get them on their read. Maybe he's saying that versus this coverage, right? You have your progressions, but versus this coverage, we know these two progressions aren't even necessary. You're not even going there. Now we're going to go over here to this triangle because there's always three-man spacings, low, medium, high, right?
Exactly. And so
Right.
you reading the defense and know which way to go. You ain't gonna have 5 reads because you're gonna discard them other 2.
If he's counting the other 2 that naturally goes away against coverage, then maybe so. But it is so tough to get 3 now. 4, yeah, because 4 is the check down. 4 is the check down.
Right.
And
But 5 guys, you stand them. And keep in mind, let's also add, Fred. Let's also add, he gets rid of the ball quicker than anybody in the NFL.
On top of the 5 progressions.
He's lightning fast, as the coach said. Why are you guys doing this?
Stop
being so football smart, everybody.
I can't not.
I know you don't want to say that. I'll say it, Fred.
Oh no, because I would like to be in the meeting room. That's what I would like to see. I would actually like to see the film, and I would actually like these big network guys that like to go over their big boards on the national TV. I would like to see them break it down so the entire world and the entire football world can see exactly what Tua is doing. If it in fact that he is going through 5 reads.
Well, first of all,
that shows a lot. It says a lot if he is.
They do a lot of crossing stuff.
Yep.
They do a lot of middle of the field stuff, and they do it quickly, which is what makes Tua so amazing, is that he has the ability to make that quick read and throw the ball in the middle of the field. Coaches are terrified by quarterbacks throwing in the middle of the field, and that's where he lives.
Right. And he's not afraid. Some guys are afraid to do that. He's not afraid. His receivers aren't afraid. And, I hadn't really studied Tua, until post, concussion and everything. I think the entire world started paying closer attention to Tua. And at the rate in which he's getting that ball out, if he was doing that pre-concussion, and now he's still evolving into that and as well as into the system, they're going to be dangerous, man, because he gets the ball out really, really fast. But again, I hadn't started studying him until, post-concussion. And he does a great job at that.
Talking to the great Fred Taylor, who does a great job with Channing Crowder, Ryan Clark on the Pivot Podcast. You guys have been going strong, Fred. I'm curious how much would you be interested in doing something with Tua? Because I feel like you guys do such a great job at kind of breaking down these athletes and getting great stories out of them. I don't feel like anybody's really done that with him. I feel like he's kind of one of these guys that's, tries to keep the private life very private and doesn't open up a whole lot. Like, how much would a sit down with Tua interest you guys? Because I feel like you guys have interviewed damn everybody so far in your first year with this run. But like, how much would that intrigue you, just to kind of maybe get like the real inside scoop on him?
Yeah, it's always intriguing. Like, I think the big fish this offseason for us, we were trying to chase down Cheetah, but he's fast. No one ever catches him. So it was an opportunity there that actually has some conflict. So we weren't able to close that. But I think the opportunity will still be there later. But for sure, we would love to sit down with Tua. I mean, he's just he's a great person, obviously, first. We're seeing that he's a very talented and amazing football player as he was back in Alabama. So, yeah, I mean, Tua's just amazing, man. It would be a privilege and an honor to sit down with him. Now, I think he's just a great person overall, man, and we can certainly highlight that as well as what he's done on the field, what he does off the field, and that's what the pivot does. We like to tell these wholesome, organic, evergreen stories and kind of touch on sport. That's what gets everyone there. But the whole lifestyle piece, I think that's what's been missing, and it gives the fans a different opportunity to engage with the players.
Are there any other big fish that you would love to chase down at some point in the next year? Like, what if there's a couple of headlines on Fred Taylor's list that he'd love to get on the show? Who are some of those?
I went back and they asked me who my dream person would be to get on the show. It had nothing to do with sports. Halle Berry, yeah, she would be.
Why you gotta say it with a smile?
Good for you, man.
Why you gotta say it with a smile?
Respectfully, with a smile.
You know what? You had Stylebender on last week. She's a big UFC fan. I feel like that's
she was about 5 or 6 rows somewhere near us. I was at the fight Saturday, and when they showed on the jumbotron, I'm like, I'm looking through the crowd like, okay, all right, but I got to pitch the pivot. And so it's not about me. It's totally about the pivot.
Absolutely.
Right. But no, I mean, we there are a lot of guests we would love to have. And, we chase these people. We don't have a booking agent. We kind of use our own network and our relationships to try to, take advantage of these opportunities. You have guests that come on that try to get these other, they'll open their phone book and say, hey, I think such and such should come on. While we're talking about it, The Rock, I would like to have Dwayne Johnson on. He has an amazing story. I think he would be great. That would be, I think, priority. But we do try to make all of our guests feel like priority. Bottom line is just telling a great story, letting them tell their story. Laying them up, setting them up with these questions, this and that. But it's been fun. Never thought this would be something I would be doing. But I'm here. I'm doing it. I've fallen in love with it. I love the grind. I just got back home at 8 this morning, had a 5 a.m. flight from New York. We did some shows and got back here. And then I fly to Thailand tonight for a week, land back home the day before Thanksgiving. And I'll be ready to work when I get back.
That's awesome. Well, you, Channing, Ryan, you guys are doing a fantastic job, Fred. Everybody go check out the Pivot Podcast if you haven't already. YouTube, they do a fantastic job. All your podcast platforms, you guys can catch them, and they're fantastic interviews. Fred, thanks for being generous with your time this morning, man. We really appreciate it. We had a great time.
Thanks,
I
Fred.
appreciate you guys, man.